All right, welcome to another exciting edition of Excel for Research. I got my agenda over here to the right that I'm going to work through. I'm going to show you the modifications you're going to make. You should already have in front of you what the finished product will look like. And I'm just going to show you steps. Okay, so first off, we're over here, we want to add an ID. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and that's enough to establish a pattern. Going to highlight those with the mouse, grab the bottom right corner, click on that, and just pull down, and that'll enumerate these 11 people. Okay, so let's see if I can do this as I go. That's add ID. Now I want to format the columns. So this just makes it a little easier to look at, but basically go Control Bold, Control U for underline, and I'm going to do the same thing down here. Oops, I got some wrong stuff here. Try that again. All right, Control Bold, Control U, same thing down here. And then I'm going to grab all of these except for this last column, and I'm going to center them. I think it's easier to read them if they're centered. The phrase, I think, is easier to read if you don't center it. I'm going to come down here for the code and reaction time. Do the same thing. I'm going to center those. Okay, and then I think this is a little easier to read if you come up here and put on a different color. So I'm going to come over here to the paint, and I'm going to pick a nice soothing light blue, and I will paint this a slightly different color just to make it a little more exciting. So that's green. Move that a little. Okay. So that's what I want you to do in terms of the formatting. And now I want to have us count up the number of responses we had in these 3 recall events. So if you're trying to count numbers, you would use just count. But if I'm trying to use count text, if I use count A, it'll count the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So let's say I want to just count the number of responses, so I'm going to use count A. So now I'm going to go left paren, and then I'm going to define that array by just dragging down and hitting enter. So the formula then will look like count A and then C3 through C13. All right, and you should know once you've done that, I can just grab that corner again and drag it over, and I'll get the count for these 3 columns. Okay, so that's count A. We can also take the average or find the mean for different things. So, and the standard deviation. So I'm going to do that here for, say, these 4 columns. I'm going to type equals average, left paren, grab that, pull it down. And then for the next one, I'm going to get the standard deviation. So it's stdev dot s, left paren, grab that, pull it down, hit enter, and then I can click on those to just make sure that I got the right ranges. And anytime in Excel, like if it shows you something weird or you want to back out, escape usually works, the escape key. Okay, so I got the mean and standard deviation. Gonna highlight those 2, drag them to the right. So that's the average and sum of squares there. And then let's say what I'm trying to do here across the different times, this is like practice time, how long somebody had to practice something, and this is their total recall. I can just over here put equals sum, left paren, drag across those 3 columns, and I get 16. Remember, if I click on that, I can make sure I didn't get age. I don't want that. I just want the 2, 4, and 8 minutes. So I get that 16. And then if I come and drag that down, it'll give me the sum for these 3 columns for those 11 rows. Okay, so I did sum there. So now some table manipulations. All right, we can do text to columns. So what that means is I'm going to take these words that are little phrases and get them in their own separate columns. That's useful a lot of the time. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to go to, let's see, where do I go? Data, and then text to columns. So it's asking me, do I have a fixed width or delimited? We're going to delimit it with spaces. In other words, delimit is just what are you using to indicate where the breaks are. So I don't need tab selected. All I need is space. And you see when I select space, it shows me how it's going to divide stuff up. I hit next, and it's saying if I want to format it differently, I'm just going to leave it on general. Then I finish, and so there you see it throws those things, breaks them apart into different columns. So then I could come in and label each of these as different variables, depending on what I'm doing. All right, that was text to columns. I can also do VLOOKUP. So let's say here, see how I have code down here and reaction time, and up here I have reaction time and code. So I can match these 2 data sets together using this as the key. Code is going to be the key for me. All right, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go equals VLOOKUP. And this one, I think it's helpful. Go ahead and click the formula thing here, so it'll give you it gives you the step-by-step. Oh wait, sorry, that's not right. That's not what I want. I think I got to click here. There we go. Okay. So what's my lookup value? Well, I'm going to look up things by code. So I'm going to come over here and click on code, and that's right. So now I'm going to go to the next thing. And then I want to get the table array. So I'm going to come down here and highlight just the numbers. I don't need the labels, the things here at the top, the words. Column index is which column I want to get. I want to get the second column. I'm going to index things off of code, but I'm going to get that second variable, so I'm going to type that as 2. And then the range lookup, this is just whether or not you want it to be exact or close. We're going to say exact and put in false here. And then it'll show you that it's pulling down 423. You can check and see if that's right. For 1242, 1242 is 423, so that checks out. All right, so I have that there. Now, before I drag, I need to come in here and clean up the reference. I need to make sure that I don't move the 18 and the 20. I want to kind of put a stake in the ground on those 2. So I can put a $sign before the 18 and a $sign before the 28 to hold those constant. And now when I drag that down, you can check, but it doesn't move the 18 and the 28. It keeps those constant. Okay, so now I've pulled these values up here in my data set. So that's VLOOKUP. I can also do conditional formatting. So let's say I just want to kind of look over my data and make sure I, for whatever reason, want to see if there's any values that are less than 4. So I highlight the range that I'm interested in, the 2, 4, and 8 minutes. I go to, I believe, yeah, the home screen, conditional formatting. And I'm going to give it a rule. I'm going to say I want it to highlight if it's less than 4. And it's already picked up the range that I had highlighted, and it's going to show you how it's going to format it. But I hit OK. Now when I just look at this, it's showing me certain values that I might be interested in. So that's conditional formatting. Concatenate is when you are basically adding cells together. So let's say you have these different words in these different columns, and you want to pull those together. So I can go concatenate left paren, and then I'm going to click on each of these cells. I'm going to click here, and then comma, click here, comma, here, comma, whoops. Okay, that last one's going to be a little hard to click on just because where it is. So I'm just going to come up here and type E3. All right, so now it pulls together and just smooshes together whatever's in those 3 columns. I might want to have these broken up by spaces. So I'm going to come up in here and just put in spaces in between these different cells. And if I just have the quotes like that with a blank in between, that'll add a space. So there, now I got bed and pillow. All right, once I've done that, I can just come here, drag that down, and boom. I've combined these into one column. It's kind of the opposite of what I did over here where I took the phrase and split it into multiple columns. All right, so that's concatenate. One thing to be aware of is when you do this, the value of this cell is not bed pillow. The value of this cell is that formula. So if I wanted to cut and paste this somewhere else and just retain these values, there's a way to do that, and it's called paste special. So I'm going to highlight these, I'm going to copy them, then I'm going to go here where I have pasted recall, and I'm going to right click, and then I got to go through this paste thing. There's paste options. It's actually this button right here, paste values, but I'm going to show you how to do it in a way that's a little easier to read. I come down here to where it's not giving me the little icons, it's going to give me actual words, and I go to paste values. And I hit OK. All right, so these look like the same, but here it's a formula that's providing the information in that cell, and here it's just bed pillow. So if I copy this column somewhere else and put it anywhere else, it'll actually retain these specific characters. All right, so that's paste special values. And then we got 2 graphs we're going to do. So we're going to do, one is correlation. So I am going to grab, let's see, I'm going to do this. I'm going to grab these 2 columns. Then I'm going to go to Insert, Recommended Charts, and go with Scatter. I'm going to move this down here a little bit. And then I'm going to, I just shrunk it a little bit. Now I'm going to clarify some things. So I'm going to go up here to the Add Elements. And one element I'm going to add is the axis title. So this first axis, I'm going to say 2 minutes. And this other axis, I'm going to go and type 4 minutes. And then in here, up here, the chart title, I'm going to say correlation in and recall for 2 and 4 minutes. Okay, then one last thing. I'm going to go to Add here, and I'm going to add the trend line, and I'll slap that in there. And then I'm just doing linear, that's the default. But if I want to go to the options, I can actually add the formula. So that's that there. And that formula I can move around a little bit so it's not in the way. All right, so that's the regression formula that specifies that the line of best fit for these values. All right, so that's correlation. And then for sample means, what I'm going to do, this is a little fancier highlighting, but I'm going to select those 3 cells, and then come down here and select the mean for those 3 cells. and then go to insert recommended charts, and I'm going to go with the default here, the columns. So boom, it puts that in. And I'm just going to come in here and add the axis titles. So this axis I'm going to call items recalled. And down here I'm going to call this one minutes of practice. I can move that around a little bit. And I'm going to call this words recalled, or how about items recalled by condition. All right, got those two, got these labeled. Boom. And then just to make these stand out a little bit, we're going to go and format these up here. So if I go to shape outline, weight, I'm going to put that there. Okay, so I'm going to go and do this one now. Come up to format, shape outlines, weight, come down, something like that. So now I have a little border that separates those. Okay, I forgot there was one last thing I was going to do. I got this extra column here. I was just going to show you, like we did over here with the paste special. These values, the total recall values, are just a formula. So if I want to get those as actual numbers, I can go copy, remember, and then go to paste special and values. And it'll paste those in as numbers as opposed to formulas. And that, I think, is that. All right, thank you. Got to highlight that just for good measure. Those were the sample means we graphed. Okay, thank you.